ready for another lesson?
Should I play the music in? Why not? It's been a little while, right?
Right? Oh, our music? Our music.
Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nathaniel. Not joining us this week is Adam. It's his fault. We don't know why. But also joining us around here is our other rest of our guests. I don't know why I said normal. We're always here. It's not like we have any special guests. It's Blake and Tyler. No fancy names this week. Hi, guys.
I'm normal.
Normal Tyler and regular Blake. There we go.
I was gonna say that reminds me of
big regular Blake.
Yeah, I was that reminds me of remember the SpongeBob episode, fellas, where he's perfectly normal.
I was literally just gonna bring that up.
Or
yeah, he's
maybe he's an oval. Maybe
well, at least
just rounded.
His edges round off.
Yeah, he's just one straight line. He doesn't have any squiggles in him, and he kind of looks like a popsicle.
Lovely.
Yeah. I hear you. Yep. I see the vision now.
Lovely weather we're having.
Hi. How are you?
Man, I know we reference SpongeBob a lot on this pod, man, but like honestly, a god tier cartoon.
I was having that talk the other day where I was just like, man, I don't realize how often so many of my references are SpongeBob. But then,
it's
like,
absurd.
The person I was with was like, I didn't realize how many of them I knew. And like I just didn't know were SpongeBob either.
No,
like,
sure.
Like I know the reference
them from pop culture.
Yeah,
and
I know the
everything.
reference. I just didn't know it originated from SpongeBob, kind of thing. It's like that is truly the millennial like second language, man. It's just SpongeBob quotes.
It's great.
I wonder what do you think it is for the young kids right now? Or I guess the kids, right?
It's all
the
YouTube stuff. Now,
do you think
right?
that's like the Rick and Morty?
No, it's like the Skibbity Toilet. Well, maybe that's Gen Alpha, but like Gen Zers, it's probably I don't know. We're missing our Gen Zer. At the moment.
Yeah. It's gotta be like I feel like Rick and Morty's up there, or what's the other joint? Regular Show? No pun intended.
Sure.
No, I think those were still.
Is that more millennials?
Yeah.
I think that might be the tail end of us. Because
I feel like they were
when they started. I don't know if they're still airing.
Yeah.
Like new stuff. But I remember even like Adventure Time.
Sure. Yeah, Adventure Time would be a big one.
Yep.
But I think like at a certain point, like that's where you get the divide, right? Where they stop quoting shows and they start quoting YouTubers or like videos and TikToks and that kind of thing, right?
Just
the same thing,
more so like the memes are from the internet,
right? Exactly,
right? From like users on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, cartoons.
Like I mean, and you see it with us too. Like the weird one for our generation is like there's a whole group of people that have references for Vine, which is just a platform that does not fucking exist anymore, and like has been subsumed by other things, but like really was TikTok before TikTok kind of thing. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, we have that. Even still, one of my favorite funny bits from this podcast is the one that turned out to be a millennial internet meme per se, and it's the I Like Turtles one.
Sure.
And that's when we were asking Adam, like, hey, do you know what that is? Then he pulled up the video and he's like, dude, this video's not old. This guy's like 30.
No,
sure enough, we ended up looking at the video. It's like, no, that's the same kid like 18 years later.
It's so good.
Yeah, but that's to Nathaniel's point, that's a classic millennial internet meme. One of the first,
right?
You would say, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. It's fucking Tay Zonday, Chocolate Rain. It's like it's all that stuff. Yeah. The he's in your hide your kids, hide your wife, all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a classic too. Yeah.
Do you guys remember waffle fries?
That's the YouTube guy, right? Unforgivable on YouTube. Yeah, and it's the black dude in the forest.
Yeah.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking. Wow, you just unlocked a crazy memory, bro. And I'm surprised I know what it is, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's so good.
Yeah. That's one I'd be curious to know if Adam's seen that video.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's like peak millennial shit, right? That's like
For
YouTube
sure.
2008, 2007.
Right.
Oh,
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's funny, man. I hope that video's still on YouTube. Hopefully that page.
It has to be. I bet that guy's still making money.
I was like, what's crazy is that was at a time like he probably didn't even have a chance to like monetize and make anything from that. Where if that was in current times, like, yeah, what you get that, you get a sponsorship, a deal somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And the next thing you know, the guy's like on a fucking Chipotle commercial. Like, that's just how the internet works now.
He's easily getting hired for somebody who's selling waffle fries still.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they're just plastering his face everywhere.
Yeah. That guy would have the Chick-fil-A sponsorship.
I think they still should. I think they should find this guy,
bring it back,
and be like, dude, you're owed years of back pay.
Your 15 minutes of fame has finally come back around for you.
Wow. Yeah, man, the internet's an interesting place, which is actually a great segue to
it's true.
The film we're doing today.
So
the internet and kind of this AI, what's real, what's not. Which I think we've talked about a few times on this podcast of how we're going to be able to start to differentiate between what's real and what's AI online.
Sure.
After seeing this, I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah, man. And even if you go back maybe like a year ago, you could kind of pick up some of the clues. At least I could. So they would hands would be very poorly drawn.
Lighting's
or poorly,
weird.
Animated, I guess you could say. I don't know what verbiage I want to put on it. To Nathaniel's point, lighting. Sometimes mannerism, people would move too much and be too jittery, right? But I feel like it's progressing so much, man, where you can find stuff that's AI now and it's just holy shit, this is fake. So it's just scary, man, to see what that's going to look like. And I can't even imagine what it looks like in 5 years from now. There's going to have to be some sort of fact checking and copywriting and whatnot online. It has to be, right? How else could we trust anything?
Yeah, it's.
How do we trust anything now?
That's true. That's also true.
It's going to be an interesting one, but to kind of segue over as we were talking about, we're going to be talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning this week. If you haven't been able to pick up at this point, it's going to be a little bit of a looser episode. Adam is not here. We don't know why, but we're sure he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's communicating, so
maybe.
He does have signal.
There was that one, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where we were like, okay, we're all getting on, and we were like, I haven't heard from Blake in 3 days.
Yeah, that was true. It did happen.
Yeah, that was funny.
But we actually do have his review and his ranking already, so this is not going to be a bit of sizzle up. This is going to be an official episode, so we'll be able to tell you where Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning goes on our Entropy list, which I guess is a good time to talk about the way the review segment works here on Back Row Banter. It's split up into 2 sections. The first section is going to be the non-spoiler section. So then we'll talk about the movie itself, who directed it, who's in it. We'll go over its IMDb page, go around the squadron, tonight a trio, and decide if we would recommend this movie. It's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. And yeah, and then after that, it'll be spoiler time. I'll play some sort of spoiler noise to let you know that spoilers are happening. And if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, check the show notes. The timestamps for the episode are going to be in there, so you can check when we're out of spoilers and into ranking the movie up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. I guess typically is now when I throw to Adam. Tyler, do you have the IMDb page pulled up, or Blake, do you have anything there?
I do. So I've got the IMDb summary for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Our lives are at the sum of our choices. Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Not the greatest IMDb summary here, ladies and gentlemen. But that, in fact,
whack.
Yeah, that actually is the summary of this thing on here. So, surprising they didn't try to. I mean, they didn't really go into detail at all by any means.
No.
Granted, this is a part 2 in
Yeah.
essence, right? Like the sixth one is basically the first part, and this is the part 2 of that.
Which I didn't know.
Actually, I didn't realize that either until I was already watching this, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
Well,
same
yeah,
problem.
we'll talk about it, but yeah, that's actually funny. So, yeah, that's that. So, Nathaniel, if you're back here, we had a chance to go through the IMDb summary.
Lack
horrible.
thereof.
I would
Horrible,
rate
horrible.
it 2 out of 10.
Okay.
But that's what it is for the listeners. Obviously, we'll jump into our thoughts here. Film is obviously starring Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, our boy Vin Rames. Who else is in there? Simon Pegg. Kind of just going off the top right now, fellas. I guess I can dig into it here. Issei Morales.
I think we got Palm Clementif, Shea Wiggum.
Yep. Angela Bassett.
Yeah, Angela Bassett does show up. Those will really be your big ones, your big ones, I would say.
Yeah. And then director is going to be Christopher, is it McQuarrie?
McQuarrie. Yeah.
McQuarrie. Who is the same director from Mission Impossible 6, right?
I think it's Rogue Nation onward.
So Rogue Nation is 5.
Yeah, so 5, 6.
If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and now it's
so 5 is Rogue Nation, 6 is Fallout, and then 7 is
Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning.
And then now this one.
And then this is 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, and also has writing credits on Top Gun Maverick. A lot of Tom Cruise stuff's got writing credits on. What's the joint with Emily Blunt as well? It's blanking me right now, but I saw it early. Thank you. Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they met on the Jack Reacher movies back when those were coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been kind of Tom Cruise's guy here for a few years at this point. And
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
big action guy.
Yeah, here we are. It's Mission Impossible. I guess 9,
8, I believe.
Okay, 8,
maybe 8, 9. I don't know.
We've all seen all the Mission Impossibles, right?
Yeah, I was just wondering. This is the first one we're putting on the list, isn't it?
I believe
we did Dead Reckoning.
No, I don't think it's on the actual entry list though. I think we did a bit of sizzle app for it. I don't think we put it on the entry list. I'll have to fact check that, listeners. I think one of us might have been gone. It was either myself or
glance, and I don't remember.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I think
I don't remember having it on there.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well.
So yeah, first Mission Impossible, not first Tom Cruise. We do have OG Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it was interesting. So as me and Ty were kind of talking about here today, we'll kind of just bounce around here. Me and him both did not realize this was a part 2. And as the film started, I was like, am I tripping? Or like, I could have sworn I've seen this villain already. And then like, they were kind of hashing out the other things. And I was like, oh, this is absolutely just part 2 of the 7th film, which I didn't know that. Did you know that? Obviously, I try to stay away from
yeah, I mean, I guess going into, so like, I just knew it because Dead Reckoning was part 1. Right, like it was originally, that's how it came out in the theaters, and then it did so poorly because if you guys remember, Barbenheimer came out the next week, which is I think why we had to do it, because I think Adam was out of town or something like that, and then Barbenheimer came out the week afterwards, and that completely blew everything else out of the water.
Of course, yeah.
So, so Dead Reckoning, which again was also already behind the 8 ball, because if you remember correctly, that movie was just starting to kick off when the pandemic hit. And Tom Cruise and McQuarrie and the production company actually kept everyone on staff during that whole time. So like it was already like a $400 million movie, and they were going to be, their whole plan was to, release it. And it was kind of like it was going to be this whole thing. Movies were back, and like they'd had the run up from Maverick, and they'd had all these great stuff. And then it comes out, it does pretty well the first weekend. And then immediately afterwards, everyone's moved on to Barbenheimer, and that just completely tanked it. So then the studio, I think within 6 weeks, we were hearing like the next one is not going to be called part 2. They think that was part of the reason, is that people didn't want to, like, it was like Fast and Furious, this and something else came out right around that same time that were very like ended on a cliffhanger with a like part 2 kind of implied kind of thing. And I remember there was like this like backlash around that time too. So anyways, long story short, they then drop part 1 from the Dead Reckoning title scheming, and they just call it Dead Reckoning. And then this one comes out as the final reckoning, but was always going to be part 2 basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I was interested in it because I liked Dead Reckoning. I wanted to see what happened with those characters. I think this movie kind of seems to go along with the fact that you didn't see the last one, or maybe you don't remember it because it's a lot of flashbacks in that part.
Yeah. And to your point, Nathaniel, a lot of flashbacks just throughout the entire series.
That's true.
Right, where you can kind of go into this. I don't want to necessarily say go in blind and not be aware of any of the other films. You will miss out on certain things and certain character reveals that come back that haven't been around in other films. But yeah, they pretty much kind of tie a lot of shit up for you.
If
we're talking about this character, flashback to the film in 2003. We're talking about this character, flashback to the film in 2011. So
there's a lot of, if you've been a fan that hasn't seen all of them but has checked in every now and then on the Mission Impossible franchise, you can still watch the last one and feel like you're gonna get it kind of thing overall.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, let's get into the kind of actual, I guess, like our thoughts here. Not any spoilers yet or anything, but I've been seeing a lot of people react pretty negatively to this overall, where I found myself having a pretty great time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just like I had a good weekend or something, and it was just kind of like I was in a summery mood. My theater was pretty full overall, I would say. I saw it on the Sunday. But it was I don't know, I just had a good time with this. I think it's messy, it's kind of like silly in parts, but like it, you know what it reminds me of is it reminds me of The Dark Knight Rises, where like The Dark Knight was like that movie that was like incredible, could never be touched,
expectations through the roof.
Yeah, exactly. And so like the third one's just kind of like they don't even try kind of thing. They kind of make it a little bit more goofy in some ways, and I feel like this is kind of like that in some ways too.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still a recommend. I was pretty positive on it, but any criticism that people have, I also fully understand as well.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to browse too many forums on Reddit. I called the movie yesterday, right? So I haven't got a chance to kind of deep dive some stuff, where those communities I visit. But I can see the sentiment of what kind of people are going on to say and communicate if they don't feel the greatest about the film. That being said, I mean, overall it's still good. I would recommend it. There, as with anything, it's Tom Cruise, right? You're going into the movie, you're getting good cinematography. The score on Mission Impossible films are awesome, as expected.
Yeah.
And you're watching him he does his own stunts, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
So that just amps up your appreciation, right, of what's being put on screen. And you talk about trying to mesmerize people and put on an entertainment or put on show for 100%. People, like this Tom Cruise is balls to the walls. He's doing it.
He's worth the price of admission. Yeah, like genuinely.
Yeah,
like it is one of those things like, well, and I think I'm fond on this one because it, in the stunts that it decides to play on, it kind of plays on a couple things that like for me are just either phobias or like I love the thrill ride portion of it, that kind of claustrophobia thing. And we'll save that for spoilers. But like I just think they do a really good job with that one, or with those moments, excuse me. And the thing that I immediately came away with, and like as I was watching it, was like the comparison between this and Uncharted. A movie which like has a very similar like stunt scene and set piece, but just looks completely fake.
Yeah, for sure.
And like there's nothing there, and like how empty that made me feel. And then like watching this like made me feel like I was on a roller coaster and like experiencing it with all of the rest of the audience. And like that was just some real like, they don't make him like they used to. America is great shit. Like in that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, Tyler, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this one?
So I'm gonna love the fact that we're all relatively positive on this movie, and Adam fucking hates it. And I only wish that he was here, so I could just hear it. But not to say that he is gonna dog on it completely. Obviously, we can't take too much of
No.
his review into context. But I think we all know Adam enough. To where we could say if he says a particular word, we kind of know with what kind of connotation
we can
behind it.
try and get his tone a little bit better. We've been doing what is this, like episode 1, 2 something now? We're
Episode a lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're coming up on 5 years, guys. It's gonna be 5
I
years. in
know
July.
that's what's crazy. Half a decade.
Like, and genuinely, we just started doing this at one point and just kind of
Yeah.
never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's pretty wild. But yeah, genuinely, I found myself having a pretty good time for the most part. I will say the 3-hour runtime is a little bit of a hard pill to
Was it
swallow.
3 hours?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's 249 or 250
Yeah.
something. Like I agree with that, Ty, for sure. I agree.
So I definitely felt like it was long. I did not know it was that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of my only gripe, and it's paced well. It's just I don't ever feel like I was sitting in there for too long, and I'm like, dude, fuck this.
No, I think
But
it does take.
I looked at the runtime beforehand, and maybe that's why I had the perception of like at some point I was like, this is all of like 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it takes a little bit to get going too. I think the first
For
third
sure.
of this movie is definitely the messiest parts and that kind of thing, and then it kind of clicks into place and it really escalates from there. But
Yeah.
that first 45 minutes or so is definitely where like Adam's criticisms, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I think they're valid. There's no doubt about it. I think that
For sure.
the back half of this movie just like works like gangbusters for me, and and that for me is just like it somehow hacked into my 6-year-old brain, and like I was just like at the movies in summer watching something that was blowing my mind, and I was loving life. It was great. Should we talk a little bit about what Adam said? Go ahead.
I had a good time, man. No, I was just saying, I had a good time. I was pretty much in a theater alone. It was like me and like 3 older people.
Sure.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. So it was kind of cool. I just kind of had the whole thing to myself, and they were like super far down because they couldn't do any like stairs. So they were literally on like the ground level of seats right by the ramp. So it was like they were almost non-existent from where I was sitting.
Okay, so that brings up
How was your viewing experience, Nathaniel?
so crazy. Genuinely
okay.
insane. Yeah, I can't believe I haven't talked about this yet. And because I've been waiting to talk about this story on the podcast for all week. But so yeah, we have like a group of people that generally goes on Sundays at this point, and like it's a couple of us here. It's my roommate Waz, our friend Joe, a couple other people pop in every now and then. And we go, and like Waz is on the center or on the inside of our kind of row closest to the center, right? And then I'm on the farther side from him. So there's about 4 or 5 people in between us. And then we're classic, like kind of middle, upper 3/4 kind of thing where we like to sit, And then the theater is full, but not so full that like if I got put down there and like and I was sitting next to someone, I would move 2 seats away or something and like be pretty confident that no one was going to show up at that point.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And because we roll in generally like when Nicole Kidman is doing her speech. Right. So we have a pretty good idea.
Yeah. We got it down to a science.
we're sitting there, and like there's like a lady that's sitting about 4 rows in front of me, who is the best audience member ever. Like, she gasped at every like thing that like popped out. She was screaming when like Tom was falling off stuff. Like, she was having like the best theater experience, which made me have a great experience too, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was like it was genuinely like she was reacting in such a pure way that I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then there was a lady sitting to the left of Waz, and she was sitting so she was sitting there with her husband in between him, and this lady did not stop talking the entire time. It was like she was in her first movie. Like, it was like there's a scene, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a scene in there where out of context, like Haley Atwell's like been captured, and there's just a shot of a hammer on a table, and I swear to God, I hear this lady go, torture. They're gonna torture her. I was like, yes, that is the symbolism of what's going on here. I felt like William Dafoe.
You don't say, huh?
I felt like William Dafoe in the Boondock Saints, man. I was like, is this your first time? Like, what are we doing here? Have you been let out of the house? Is he blind? Is that why you're describing everything that's happening in this movie right now? I could not believe it. With like 2 minutes left in the movie, Waz just basically gets up and walks out. Like, he's just had enough at this point, knows what's going to happen, and just could not handle it anymore. It was unbelievable. And like, we generally will like go to like the IMAX or like the Dolby screenings, and I feel like that is a barrier of entry for people who are not A-list, because they're the more expensive screens generally, right?
Yeah,
we go to the movies enough that
you don't get the random teenagers and shit in there. And
exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and there was definitely some of those, and like I've been to movies enough times, my brain can filter those guys out. Like, that it's just like it will not
100%.
even notice them at this point. But like, this lady was an older lady, or like, and not older enough that it was like it was justified. Like, she was like middle-aged, man.
Yeah.
And we were just like,
you're 46, ma'am.
Like,
please stop.
I know you've been to a movie before. Like, what has made you this way? So yeah, that is just the movie-going experience in 2025. Anyways, I completely forgot that I hadn't talked about that yet. Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm glad that it came to mind, because it would have been a shame to
the
not
other
hear
thing
it.
was
After we get done recording, you were like, "Oh God, no."
The other thing was that like during the moment where everything is really picking up, where he's by himself diving, and like it's silent in the movie.
Sure.
And like,
yes.
And this lady is just like, I don't
Tension's
even
being built through the lack of sound.
Correct. I don't even know what she's saying, but I can just hear like, I'm losing my mind.
That's awesome.
Did you get anyone in the crowd? You know, occasionally get someone in the crowd and somebody's just like shut up,
dude. Like, multiples. Like, yeah, like Waz gave
she kept going.
And like, dude. Like, oh man, it was
That's rough.
Real.
Yeah, that's rough.
Anyways. I don't know. Something's gonna happen. Like, I will have somehow got good karma off that somehow. I've paid for this, but Waz paid even worse. He's gonna like find money or something like that next day. But
that's funny.
Yeah, that's going to the movies in 2025, folks. You never know what you're gonna get at this point.
That's great. I think that's genuinely why I like going during the week.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like
filters even more people out.
We as the movie heads, like we all know, and like and the thing is, when you go in on like a weekday at like 11 and there is one other person in there with you, you guys get to give each other the nod. Like, yes, we are true cinephiles.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here by myself.
Yeah, I mean, as far as movie viewing experience, I mean, in terms of going opening weekend on stuff, the only things I really enjoy doing opening weekend or even like opening night per se are like horror movies.
Sure.
Is I'd like to get a good horror movie with a decent
and again, like
with a decent adequate horror crowd. is good.
That lady that was reacting to everything was awesome. Like, genuinely, it was like that elevated the experience of everyone being there. And like, good horror crowds are like that too. Like, going to a movie with a respectful, engaged crowd is an awesome experience. Like,
I agree.
I think back to Oppenheimer. When like we went, I think I saw that in IMAX, and it was a packed theater, and they played the Exorcist Believers trailer before it. Terrible movie. God. But great trailer, and like seeing it with the crowd was like, and like having people gasp, and like like knowing that like they won't go and see it, but like we can test ourselves, and we're gonna go and see it and stuff. Like, there's something about that, of that shared experience of everyone being there. It is awesome, but like, just shut up during the fucking movie.
For sure.
I go back to when we all went and saw Dune Part 2. I know it's
another one.
You know,
that was a great viewing experience.
Movie on the pod.
We joke a lot, but like Dune 2 is a great movie, and like the Dune 2 viewing experience was awesome. Like,
I remember coming out of there, and like we were taught, I felt like a kid again. It was awesome. I'm like, dude, my mom's gonna be here to pick me up soon. Let's just talk about this movie quick in the park.
Yeah, and that was correct me if I'm wrong, fellas. I think that may have been an opening night. Like, that may have been a Thursday night.
Yeah,
that was like an opening, if I'm not
mistaken.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I do. Should we shout out Adam's non-spoiler review?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked here a bit. So like, in counterpoint to us, he'll say non-spoiler review. And he's writing into us on our group mate. So here you go. Disappointing finale to one of the best franchises ever. While I understand why they wanted to make this movie an ode to the franchise, you can do that without it being the whole purpose of the movie, which is how it felt at times. Movie wasn't necessarily bad, just disappointing for me because I arguably prefer Mission Impossible over a franchise like James Bond. Fair. There are certain moments of this that were reminiscent of Fast and Furious, and I never would have expected it after watching the incredible sequence of MI movies we've gotten since MI3. Action sequences and set pieces still crush, but not the best we've seen from these movies. Tom Cruise is still awesome. If he ran more, maybe this movie would be better. So yeah, I think like there are parts of that I agree. I think this movie is too kind of like ode to the franchise at parts. As Blake said, there's a lot of flashbacks, but again, I feel like in some ways Mission Impossible has always done that. Or particularly like the talking through a plan and kind of like having it happen simultaneously and playing with that a lot and that kind of thing. But I will say that there are the best parts of this movie to me are the stunts, and the stunts in this movie have certain moments where I'm like, oh, well, we've kind of done a version of this before. And so that's maybe a little bit of like a half step down for me, but I still do think the stunts in this movie are better than those stunts that we've done before as well too. So it's a little bit like, and like the last one had the bit where he rides off the cliff, and like they spent all this time in
the Halo jump.
Well, the Halo jumps in Fallout, where they like jump out of the plane at super low. The last one, he rides off the cliff and he like pulls the parachute out.
I got you.
And then flies into the train, basically.
Good correction. Yep.
And like I remember, like in the lead up to that, they showed it, and it was in all the trailers, and we saw it like without the movie effects in it. And then when it was in the movie, it didn't look as good. Like it looked like they'd CGI'd some of it, where I don't think that happens in this one, where every part of this feels very real when they are doing their stunt work and stuff. So, yeah, those are a little bit more of my thoughts on that one. I think Adam is, it is his non-spoiler review is valid as well too. But I'm a recommend still. For sure.
Yeah, I'll echo Nathaniel. Yeah, and Ty for that matter. I'll recommend. If you've gotten this far in Mission Impossible and you've watched the first 7, go ahead and finish the series with the 8th. Right. Yeah. That's my kind of final saying. So, jumping into spoilers here, fellas. You want to give us a sound here?
Yeah. Here, let me find something. Record scratch.
There it is.
Oh, that's James Bond.
So yeah, I mean, this one it continues with the same antagonist of the previous film with the entity, which is essentially AI.
Yep.
Which is one I don't know how I feel of how that's going to age over time. I think right now it's already awesome to see because we're in a world that we just talked about earlier where AI could be very like, you can come across something online and you're like, what the fuck? No way. Is this fake?
Sure.
Right? You kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
second guess yourself that now. And I just wonder how that antagonist is going to be, how that's going to be taken in from the crowd when this film is 25 years old. Right. And how do we feel about it? I guess that's kind of my big comment on that.
I've seen a lot of people too talk about like that the AI as the villain, there's something about it, like we haven't quite nailed that as like a story writing plot beat yet. Like it right now it still makes it feel too vague. Like the finding the entity and like battling the entity doesn't really make good television because no matter what, you have to put someone in a box or you have to have some sort of little orb or interface that like talks to you, right? And that's just not as exciting as having a real human in the screen that can do stuff with you, right? And so they sort of got around it in the last one, I feel like, with I don't even remember, Gabriel. And like there was some cool stuff that they did. Like I remember they were like erasing him live on like CCTV camera
which is
and stuff.
Awesome. And like they don't do that,
right?
In this film,
yeah, and that's like
which sucks that they went away from that.
And so like I think by not doing that, they make the entity less of a threat and like not as cool. Like it that was the point of difference in what was different about that movie and that kind of stuff. Now like I think you can see that they were like, well, we gotta nail this last one because it is the last one. So we got to do these crazy stunts and like the plot and then that some of those thought processes definitely came at the like second thought to a lot of that other stuff as well too. I feel like in comparison to the other stuff, and I think that's what Adam's responding to as well. Like it's definitely not as tight as some of the other ones, or especially not as tight as Fallout, which I think remains the high water point for this series overall.
Best Mission Impossible film in my opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're in spoilers. Similar to Fallout, I love how Gabriel dies though. Like it is great. The I have a parachute and you do not. Yeah. And then just immediately gets iced. Like
it does hit you because that's one of those like it happens and I was like, oh shit. Yeah. And you don't get a lot of those in these Mission Impossible films because you just don't get the most abrupt deaths and gore and things of that nature. They're all I think they're all PG-13 if I'm not mistaken, right? Besides maybe the
first one might be R. Yeah, the first one or two, yeah.
So you just get accustomed to not seeing those abrupt and gruesome deaths where you're kind of like, oh, I wonder how he's going to get out of this. And then to Nathaniel's point, he kind of cuts himself and lets go. Then he just right into the airplane. I was like, oh, shit, that's rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the set pieces and the scenes in here, as well as the suspension is still awesome. Honestly, the scene on the submarine
incredible
is fucking awesome.
Some of the best
for
shit.
Sure.
Yeah, some of the best shit in the series, bar none. I personally, I'm kind of afraid of the ocean. I don't like the whole idea of like it being dark and underneath me and stuff. Let
alone you're in where were they in the Baltic Sea or something like
Strait,
that? It's fucking freezing.
Like by far I love that this movie played into that and like the claustrophobia as well too. Like once he's on the sub and the water pouring in, only thing that for me, like as soon as he gets out of that torpedo tube without that thing, he's just paced. Like we've all seen Last Breath the Titanic thing at this point. Like
the ascension, right?
Yeah, that was definitely where I was like, oh, okay, well, we're really suspending our disbelief, but sure, that's fine. But before that, when he's in there with the torpedoes falling down and like the subs rolling over and the water
rolling to an edge,
dude,
fucking phenomenal.
Just some of the best shit. Like, I was squirming in my seat, like I was laughing. It was great. I think all of that looks pretty good as well too. I think I do want to say shout out to like the supporting cast that they do bring in. Mr. Severance as the captain of the
captain of the submarine.
Easily instant favorite on this one. The Mr. You want to poke
Yeah.
the bear, I'm your guy line is just
Yeah.
incredible. I want him in everything ever from now on. He's so
Yeah,
great.
it was cool to see him make a quick appearance, which is one. I mean, I don't know if he's on any of the promo and whatnot for this. Like I said, as I always echo, I don't really watch too many trailers and whatnot. But yeah, that was awesome for the guy. He gets on the sub and you see the captain. You're just kind of like, oh, it's this guy.
It's
right?
we're all the Leo meme. Yeah.
yeah. So that was cool.
And I mean, shout out our girl Katie O'Brien from Love Lies Bleeding, who shows up in this as well too.
very true. Very true.
I have heard people talk about those moments where like they're kind of like, this is your respirator and you're gonna go down and you're gonna do this and that kind of stuff, and like people have been critical of those moments as like no one really talks like that and you're kind of just exposition dumping. But there was something about it in those moments that like for me I kind of enjoyed. Like that I don't know, I liked hearing about the tech kind of thing, and maybe that was just my weird nerd brain, but I didn't mind those moments when they were like on the sub, or I think it was like before they do the kind of assault on the listening base as well too.
I think the reason you like the explanation of the tech is because kind of like what Adam was saying or will say, because we haven't read his spoiler version, but he references 007 Bond movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Also a spy genre. They do explain and rely on tech a little bit more throughout those series.
Yeah, absolutely.
These, I think you only get an explanation every once in a while. Like the one that always sticks out in my head is from Mission Impossible with the gum.
The chewing gum. Yep, 100%.
As being like his, like a spy tool.
Well,
And
Mission
you really
Impossible
don't
has
see-
they have the masks. That's like their other big thing, right? Is
For
that
sure.
They have the masks, and then I think is it Ghost Protocol where they're going down like the hallway with like it's like a projection screen kind of thing.
Yeah, going into the Kremlin.
Yeah. But
Yes.
it's definitely to your point. It does feel like it's less so than James Bond for sure, where you almost always have the Q scene where he kind of breaks it all down for you and everything.
For sure. So yeah, I think maybe that's why, because it definitely these are spy movies and are of the same genre, and so I think it's cool to get a little bit of explanation, because most of the time it's just you see the tech and you're like, yo, dude, that's fucking so cool. So
yeah, I'm with you there. How do you guys feel about the ultimate throwback to MI1 and bringing back was it Don Lowe as like
yeah, dude,
as like
that
a
was cool.
pretty
That was
major
cool. So,
character
yeah,
as well.
yeah, where they get into that native Alaskan, right? For lack of a better term, region. I forgot what exact island it is.
I think they just
out
said,
there in the sea.
Inuit.
Yeah, it was cool when he comes on scene. There was more than a handful of people in my theater who are all like, everyone's kind of like laughs, like, oh,
sure,
nice,
yeah.
But maybe it went over a lot of people's heads. Who didn't realize till they give the cut back.
Of course, you get like sent there after you like. That's what like the classic. I feel like CIA like threat is that you'll get sent off to Russia or whatever to the very cold place
right?
if you screw up, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, yeah, I did, and I met my wife, and it's great. Like, it's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah,
to me.
life's actually chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I've been up here. I live with my dogs. I live with my wife. She's awesome. So yeah, that was a cool bring back.
I watched the first one at like the beginning of the week.
Oh, so that was awesome for you, I'm sure.
To do a little refresh. And just to go back to like where it started from to see where it's at now, and everybody's so young.
Dude, he looks like a baby.
Just,
and I think he's like 30 in that one, but like, yeah, he's
you get just a ton of like, now you would consider like cameos still, even though it was like fucking so
absolutely.
far back. But like Emilio Estevez is like his tech guy. So yeah, dude, it was really cool to see all that stuff. And then truly like know the exact like verbatim line that he said. He's like, get him up here, and he's like, why? He's like, I want him on a plane and off in somewhere by the end of the day. And so it's
Sure.
as soon as they bring him up, so I'm like, dude, that's so fucking good. I'm like, they literally played that off so well.
Yeah.
To be able to call that back to the first one.
And the knife too, right?
Yeah, you know, I was kind of hoping that he would have kept it, or like somebody would have kept it, and sure enough, it saves Benny's life.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. R.I.P. Ving Rhames. I mean,
Luther, man.
Luther
the
bites
OG
it
characters.
in this one. I think the only other person besides Tom Cruise that's in every one of these bad boys.
Yeah, so then I guess
leader, Kirchhoff or whatever, is he in all of them, or is he in just like the
Kittredge?
first one?
Kittredge's only in the first one. Yeah, it was a big deal when he came back in the last one.
Yeah, got it.
I was gonna say real quick on the Vin Rhames joint. I guess I haven't gone back and rewatched the previous film. Was he like? Did he get sick or something in that film?
He's not at all.
Or was that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was like, am I missing something? Or
no, but I can remember around the time that it came out, like he's seated in that entire movie, and I think it's been kind of like a more or less open secret that he's either having back problems or kind of like leg problems for a few years now. And I think it was kind of like, okay, we really can only get him and him be comfortable for about 20 minutes, like a day or something like that, or like just really limited shooting times.
Yeah.
And then I think that definitely factored in. And like, maybe again, this seems to be a movie that I weirdly know a lot about in some ways. And like in kind of the way that like we talk about, like a lot of times nowadays, I don't watch any trailers or like try and know anything about it ahead of time. But like a lot of these things that I think I would normally have a problem with or have a stuff, because I know some of the backstory or something with it, like I'm more willing to forgive it in some of those things. Because like, 100%. Like the last time we see Luther, he's like, well, I'm going to go get started on this and I'm going to go off the grid so that the entity can't get me, kind of thing. And then now in this one, all of a sudden he's sick and he's gone within 20 minutes. And it's like, all right, as a viewer, if I didn't know more, I'd be like, well, this just doesn't make sense and it's kind of cheap.
Yeah, I was really confused on that, man, because God forbid, God forbid. At first I thought, I was like, okay, like, is he sick in real life?
Yeah, is this another Tony Todd?
I honestly didn't know. I didn't know, because I was like, I didn't recall this from the previous film. So, but okay, it's good backstory to have for sure. But yeah, definitely R.I.P. Vin Rhames in there. He's been in pretty much all the films there. His right hand man, his I guess you could say his tech guy.
This guy in the chair,
quote
for
unquote.
Chair.
But yeah, definitely sad for him to see on that. But they make Gabriel out to be like a decent antagonist per se, right? Tom Cruise does finally lose, as he normally does for the most part. He loses a love interest, but he does lose one of the guys in his crew.
Yep.
Right. And this one, he does not lose his love interest, which has happened a few times per se.
Right.
So yeah, they did a few different things with this one. They have the Gabriel character in place, to Nathaniel's point, of the previous film, to stand in a human shape of the actual antagonist.
Yep.
Right. Because the entity, you can't. I mean, they try to introduce the entity more in this one, where it's really just like this blue blob thing.
Yeah.
When he goes
Blue
into
Jarvis.
this, what is he? Yeah. Yeah, in essence. Yeah, he lays down and there's like this blue scrambly thing that comes on screen, and it moves a little bit when there's a voice. And that's really it. So
yeah, it's another one of those ones where it's tough to visualize, and it's tough to like think. Like I think back to Ghost in the Shell, which has like I think a similar kind of premise in a lot of that stuff, where you have this cyber entity that is either taking over people or hacking people and that kind of thing as well too. And that kind of goes to great lengths to kind of depict it as well. I think it's just a tough thing to conceptualize, and no one's really nailed it yet. And at least in a way that I've seen that is really compelling, or as compelling as having an actual flesh and blood, villain or antagonist on the screen. Yeah. I mean, I just think back. I think back to the Henry Cavill in the bathroom fight scene. Like that is arguably like top 3 in the franchise, and like it's just 2 dudes fighting in a bathroom. Like it's just.
Now I will say that is the best. That's the best action sequence in the franchise.
Yeah.
As far as like suspense, right? I think there's other ones where you get Tom Cruise doing these live action stunts.
Yeah, I mean, like climbing the Burj Khalifa. I mean, even in this one,
or like
the wing walking in this, like I gotta say, is fucking crazy. Like it's so cool. Like, and it's crazy that they're able to do it. It's funny that his hair makes him look like he's one of the 3 Stooges at certain points.
It is awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how you know it's real too, because like they couldn't even find a way to edit that shit.
No, apparently he had to go and light that scene himself. Like he had to go out on the wing and like put the cameras up and shit for like all of that. That's really him that's doing it.
Christ.
Like
he's next level.
Those planes are going like slightly faster than cars. Like, it's cool, man. I like, again, worth the price of admission alone for me. For sure. Like just to go and see that, like that's just a cool time at the movies. I don't know, sue me.
Well, so Ryan came over on Friday, and so we watched the first one of this, the 6th one,
Dead Reckoning.
And so Lauren came in halfway through.
Shout out,
and
Lauren.
she was like, "What are you guys watching?" And so she sat there, and we were like, "Yeah, no, that's like why Tom Cruise is fucking Tom Cruise, because he does all the stunts. Like they're all him.
Cinema's greatest runner."
She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "That's really him doing all these things."
Yep.
And so it kind of like blew her mind because she never really knew that. And so yeah, dude, he's a fucking whole nother set of acting.
No,
era.
man, like it genuinely gets to like, I feel like why I watch movies. Like I want to see this guy do that. Like no other thing is going to like get to me there, right?
He's doing it the right way, right? When you talk about people who like aren't cheating their craft and who are actually dedicated to what they're doing, like that's what you're paying these movies. That's what you're paying to see these movies.
Which is another like
Tom Cruise is like, he's not out there half-assing shit. He's not dialing these roles. He's not doing any of that. He's putting his blood, sweat, and tears, figuratively and literally, breaking limbs, breaking ankles from jumping to different buildings. Like that's what he's doing it. So, and it's funny to Tyler's point, when he brought up Foley and his wife Lauren on there. It's the same thing when I saw it with Haley. I was like, just so you know, like the cool thing about these movies is like Tom Cruise does all these stunts. Right, like her takeaway was like, "Oh, this isn't my favorite movie. It's kind of unrealistic." And I was like, "Yeah, but like he's actually doing all these stunts." And then she was like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, that's the take. Like that's the appreciation. It's like, oh, okay, I look at it a little differently with that. He's actually on a fucking plane doing this.
And like that brings up another conversation I was having with a friend as well too, where I was like, I like these movies, particularly this last one. Like I was like, it accessed this like little part of me that like. I don't know. I just felt like it harkened back to me going to the movies as a kid and like feeling like I'm seeing these stunts, and like that was part of it. That was this thing of like, I want to go see something I haven't seen before, but like, and he was like, well, then it's this nostalgia that you're feeling for the rest of the Mission Impossible series. And I was like, yes, but I don't feel nostalgia like the way I would for the way that they do it when they present like a Jurassic Park or a Pirates of the Caribbean or even a Marvel movie where it's like, let's harken back to these characters and we're bringing them back again. It's nostalgia for like, no, we know what we're doing. We know how to film a crazy stunt, and we're going to show you how really skilled people do this. It's like a nostalgia by demonstration rather than nostalgia by reference,
homage, or something.
Yeah, exactly,
100%.
And I think that is a very distinct difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Adam's spoiler review here overall, because we've been talking a bit here. He says, "Ayo, I really don't like how I saw this movie the same week the new Google AI is making all of these crazy AI videos. Shit does not sit right with me." Fair. Anyway, decent movie, but as I said in non-spoilers, could have been better. Only so many times you can say the entity is counting on us not to trust each other. Also fair.
That's
Before
valid.
it gets
Yeah.
really old. Tom Cruise is truly the GOAT, though, and I'll watch every movie he makes until he passes away at age 149. Weird, though, that Grace's character had to kiss his chin to resuscitate him. What's up with that, Tom? And then the hand on the chin questioning face and the raised eyebrow, can you smell what the rock is cooking face. Which is true. One of my favorite games to play is charting when Tom Cruise can kiss a woman, because he has not on screen actually kissed a woman who is not either the mummy that he's killing her by kissing her, or is being resuscitated and has that as his reason for being kissed. He's not just straight up kissed a woman in maybe 15 years at this point. I don't know if it's a weird Scientology thing or something, but it's really fascinating to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. If they get him to actually do it, it's how he probably has to go to the church first, and if you want to call it a church.
I don't know.
And it says and is this is how much they're paying me. I will donate X amount of dollars to Zoltan or whatever his name is, and then you guys are cool with me kissing on screen, and they're agreed. So I wonder if that's the case, but I can only recall one time that I know of him, I think, basically making out with some chick, and that was back in the day, which was Days of Thunder, which is a sick movie.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ever seen him kiss a woman on screen.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, but yeah, whatever. At least he's stayed true to it. If it's something that you don't believe in, that and maybe it is genuinely for the fact that maybe around that era, or in a lot of eras, especially nowadays, sex sells. So maybe it's just kind of his way of basically being I don't need to go down the romance, or you can build romance without having to show physical affection for somebody
being
on screen.
Intimate on screen. Yeah,
and let the chemistry be it, and what we can do on screen, being actors and actresses, and kind of so on and so forth. So maybe there is some of that to it too. And it's just kind of part of what we were talking about just now, which is his craft. So maybe that's just part of his craft and what he believes in, just through acting and stuff too. I will disagree with Adam on it gets so old every time you keep hearing, well, the entity wants us to think that it's, us against us.
Yeah.
And you guys were talking about earlier how it's very hard to have an entity be a villain versus a physical flesh human villain. And I think it was really cool that they actually kind of spun it the way that they did, because, just if technology progresses to that point where it can be weaponized, that is what humanity is going to do with it. They are going to fight over power and control of it, because whoever has control of it has control of the world. Unfortunately, that is just human nature. So I think it actually makes this a little bit more relatable, because the entity itself isn't really the only danger here. It's at the end of the day who also gets a hold of that. And so I kind of like the fact that they spun it on its head, kind of made everybody a little bit of a villain, and then just made Tom Cruise basically the solo hero, and just really bumped his stats up on the other side of being the hero.
Oh, he's
versus
the greatest man who's ever lived. He is
right,
the
versus
second coming of Jesus.
Trying to pump up the villain and make it seem like you're rooting for Tom the whole time, obviously.
No.
And so yeah, I actually like the fact that the argument became the entity wants us to think that it is us, so we do not trust each other. And so I like the fact that that's kind of a stab at humanity, and not necessarily just an entity villain.
Yeah, I kind of like that Tom Cruise is the greatest man in the world, because I'm old enough to know that would just never happen right at this point. That no one is that pure, and I kind of like that Ethan Hunt is. It's the same way we like Superman, right? He is the impossible good. And I kind of I do genuinely enjoy that that we're getting that kind of narrative in 2025 in some ways. I also one part of this movie that we didn't talk about, I love the nuclear subplot of like we're gonna bomb our own city or one of our own cities as well too,
Sure.
because there's a movie called Failsafe that I was shown in when I was in high school. It was like my civics class, and it's the movie actually that Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is like spoofing. But it's basically like on a typical day, there are like nuclear bombers that fly the perimeter of the U.S., right? Just as a altogether like maintain readiness at any given time. If shit pops off, we've got one of these guys that can go over there. And like a weird tech thing happens, and basically one accidentally gets sent over to bomb Russia, and they can't pull it back. And the president has to decide if he's like going to do this, or if he's like, the like kind of alternative is like choose an American city and we'll bomb ourselves too to prevent Russia from seeing it as an attack, as like a genuine mistake. We're just going to write off one of our own as well too. And it's just a really great character drama, and like obviously it's really intriguing, and it's like how could you ever do that, and obviously all that good stuff. And I love that this movie just was like, yeah, we'll just take that plot and put it right in here too. Like it felt like a little shout out for the movie fan in my life, you know, too, that I was like, I can see what they're homaging here, and that's pretty cool too. So yeah, that was pretty great.
Yeah, what I want to jump in here and say too is one of my favorite bits of any Tom Cruise movie, as all the masses know, is always him running, right? Adam even referenced that in his pre-spoiler and his post-spoiler notes there that we were reading off from the group meet. But one I always love is watching this where at the end where you finally have the climax, right? Where they have Gabriel, they have them in this underground like tunnel of caves, and they have that large bomb, right? And okay, this is enough to basically collapse this entire cave system. However, the I don't know, server room per se, in quotations, right, is reinforced enough to not be penetrated by the explosion, right? So then that's where you finally get you realize the Simon Pegg character has been shot. He's there with the Haley Atwell character. They're like, hey, we'll cover the bomb. Gabriel just escaped. Tom, you go get him, right? Or Ethan Hunt, you go get him. And they allude to, throughout this entire conversation, they allude to how deep in the tunnels they are, because their bomb is on like a 20-minute timer, and like it gets to like 15 minutes, like, hey, we're running out of time. We got to get out of the blast radius. And for a minute, when they let Ethan Hunt go and tell him to go get Gabriel, I thought he was going to run out of the tunnels. And I was like, how long is that going to take to run out of all these tunnels? But it's sure enough, he jumps in the car. And I was like, man, we just missed a fucking bit.
No, I had
if they would have had him sprint out the tunnels.
I had the same reaction, though, but when he goes to save Luther, he runs for like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Earlier in the movie, he's like, I gotta go. And they're like, why? He's like, it'll be quicker if I run, basically, or something. And then you just get like 4 shots of him like running down a hallway. He's
just running down London. He runs across Big Ben. He goes against a different bridge. And I'm like, this guy's running actually like 9 miles right now. We could probably just put him in a car and get there.
Eat a light, dude.
This dude that works for them.
They were like, I think they were like, he was like, I gotta go, and they were like, why? And he just says, I think he just says Luther. I think he just Luther. And then he just fucking takes off, dude.
It's like,
I love that they're that dedicated to that bit where he in every fucking movie, man.
He's the fastest man
and
in the
we
world.
said it in the last time, I believe. Yeah, but also his form is great.
He just looks good
like
running.
66.
Yeah, he looks great when he runs.
Oh my god,
he has to run.
Oh,
like it's
100%.
it's almost 100%. Funny because at some point in the movie, and it, you know, obviously some of it's for effect, but like there is genuinely one time where it looks like he's just walking and there's a little bit of a limp, and so I'm like, I don't know if that's just because like maybe
he broke
age,
his ankle that one time
or or you know, just like going through stunts and stuff. So like I'm just like, I mean, and then you look at him running, he's like, I'm like, dude, this guy's a fucking, he looks more comfortable running than he does walking.
But
dude.
Yeah, he's a tank.
It's weird.
He's in phenomenal shape.
It's weird because he doesn't have like the sprinter run that like if you see like a professional runner run,
No.
like it is
Yeah.
different. Like
Right.
they have like
Oh,
a
for
thing where
sure.
like they almost look like they're running slow, but it's just like, and then you look at the time and you're like, oh god, that was 7 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
But like he just has such a cinematic run, and it's so like, and I think it's because he's kind of short, so he's very proportional.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yes, it's because
like-
he's short, so his strides
Are
they're very
like super
very
long,
quick-footed.
Yeah,
per se.
yeah.
You know
So
what I mean?
he looks
Yeah.
like he's just covering, like he just looks like he's hauling ass all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
He's got to be, dude. Yeah, I bet he's pushing like 30 miles per hour.
He runs like a running back, is what it is. Like he's got
Guy's a
that.
cheater.
Yeah. Huh. Well, there it
Yeah.
is, folks. We've solved it.
I love that he's like actually running on the treadmill too. Like they're just like we're just
Yeah,
gonna put him casually running in here
Oh.
too. Like we want people to know that he just does this, not like only in emergency purposes. Like he trains.
Love the you spend too much time on the internet. Great
Yeah,
old man.
kicking
Yeah, that was a good bit.
Yeah.
That was a good bit.
Great
That's a good
old
bit,
man
for sure.
quip there for you. Yeah, I loved the I did genuinely enjoy all of the time when they're on the island with the team. I enjoy the team a lot in this one in general, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like how the reins are kind of handed over
Benji, like kind of taking more
to
leadership
Benji.
role.
Yeah, and you know he even says it. He's like, take care of your team, and
Yeah.
so I do like that because you also don't. He's never been in like a lead role. I would say he's always kind of more of a supporting role or a co-lead role.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So it's cool that he gets kind of elevated and that he's kind of earned his keep in this series, even though he's not a day oneer. He's definitely someone that when you think of these Mission Impossible series, of like he immediately pops into
Yeah,
play.
I would
for
say
me.
so too.
So kudos for sure.
Surprise Nick Offerman, surprise Holt McCallany as well too.
Mhm.
For the various government aids there as well too.
Yeah. Another joint I want to jump in here too, though, is a missed opportunity, which I didn't think they would go into it by any means because I don't think we've seen wildlife just doesn't exist in movies like this. But at one point, you did have the conversation between I can't think of the gentleman's name that they bring back from the first one. I can't think of his character's name. Who's doing like the data analytics per se. Thank you, Nathaniel. And his wife and Grace go off, right? And she's teaching Grace in her native tongue of like how to kind of instruct the dogs. And she gives her a gun and she's trying to there's this miscommunication. They're trying to figure out how to understand each other, right? Because the native wife, the Inuit woman, she's not speaking English to the Grace character. She gives her a gun and she just makes like a big like growl noise per se. And she's like, oh, it's for polar bears. And I was like, oh, we're on something.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have like a polar bear action sequence in here? But like, sure enough, we don't. But like, that would have been cool too. And I even thought of that when Tom Cruise finally just jumps into the ocean when they kind of go on that hover before they go into the Russian territory.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like how cool would it be if we had like a leopard seal encounter?
Sure.
Right? Or like something like that. You know what I mean? While he was in the ocean. But they, of course, we don't get any of those. But that's just kind of my animal brain thinking.
I do want to shout out before we kind of wrap things up here. Gabriel's death. Just
loved it.
You know, just getting beefed by a plane. Rudder, which I really don't think that would like split your head in half. Like it almost seems like it's too like rounded for that to happen. But it does look very much like it basically splits his head in half.
Oh yeah, it gets him for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, they are moving fast as shit, so it might. The air is not a foe that I'm familiar with.
No, like, well, okay, so I remember I had like I think we had a high school math teacher. He was like, yeah, so one time me and my friends, we were gonna go skydiving, and one guy jumped out and like tried to do a backflip out of it, and the wind caught him and flew him right into the plane wing, and he hit his head on the wing and died. I was like, damn,
Oh,
bro,
wow.
you're telling that to your class? Like, but also, yeah, as soon as he jumped out and his head hit that thing, I was like, well, that's a thing that I have known to have happened. So, okay, I buy it. I enjoyed it a lot. Loved it. Had a great time. Let's rank it.
Killer time. Yeah, I'm down.
Let's do it.
Okay, folks, we're going to see where this ranks up on our Entropy list, which is our big
Number
list
one.
of everything we've watched on the podcast,
Yeah,
right?
Adam would be rolling wherever he's at. He would drop to the ground.
His ears would
He would
start
drop to
burning.
his knees and just scream to the sky.
It's
if
true.
that shit made number one right now.
It's true.
He would just, it would literally, whoever he's with right now, they would be, he would just be like, I have to go. And they would be like, where are you going? And he would just be like, Dune Part 2, and just start running like Tom Cruise to the computer.
All right, fellas.
Yeah, where are we looking? Where are we looking?
It's tough because we don't have the gauge of the previous of Dead Reckoning.
This is true.
That's not on
No,
here.
but we do have Mavericks on here, Top Gun.
Yeah, I like Top Gun Maverick more than this guy though.
Yeah,
And we
like
have
no
Cold
doubt, I had
Water
an incredible
action.
time watching this movie, but like I don't know how high I'm gonna rank it overall. So like,
Yeah, and it's kind of thinking aloud here, fellas. I guess we'll all kind of shoot the shit. Like, if we're just going to action movies. I think I have an action movie that I always try to do as a baseline that I think just ranked way too low on this podcast, which I'm sure both of you guys know what it is.
Borderlands.
You're sick. But Tenet here is 170.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just, all things considered, I am higher on Tenet than I am in this film.
Sure.
So that's automatically, I think that's gonna be like,
Interesting.
I gotta go lower than that. I don't think we're reaching like the purgatory levels, but honestly, I think.
I have a counter option.
Go ahead,
here.
brother.
Because the thing that actually stuck out for me, in terms of like kind of stunts and that sort of such, and just kind of big movies, I suppose, was Fall Guy, which is up
Where's
there.
that at?
That's at
I thought you were
one.
gonna say No Time to Die.
No, well, that's two, but Fall Guy's at 130.
Okay.
No Time to Die, I
Ooh,
think was a little bit above that.
No Time to Die is 57, 157.
Okay. Oh wow. I thought it was a little bit higher than that. So I kind of look around there and like I think the stunts in this look way better than Fall Guy.
No, for sure.
And like, but then again, there's some other stuff around here too. Yeah.
I think I gotta stay for good faiths. I gotta stay in
Stay with
the
Tenet?
Tenet,
Yeah.
No Time to Die area.
But like,
Right.
But like in a month and a half, if we vote Tenet up higher, are you gonna feel
Yeah.
like then that this is
Yeah.
too low as well too?
Yeah, that's true. So then, I mean,
No, I'm not trying to sway you, but like obviously.
no. I hear you. I
I'd have to do a rewatch of Tenet because
I do too. I feel like I want to get
I mean,
on.
we're talking about real stunts. They crashed an actual 757 plane.
is
in
true.
that movie, bro.
what about Crank, dude? He did all his own
I
stuff.
also saw Crank on there.
Jason
And
Statham.
like
hang on, where's Crank at? Where's Crank
it's
at?
at 144.
Okay.
So this is what I'm talking about. There's some hitters in here as well.
Yeah, and like all things considered, this probably should go above Crank. Like you know what I mean? But like at the same time,
I'm gonna go 129. I'm gonna go below American Gangster. I'm gonna go above Moana. I feel like that's fair. You still got you got Reign of Fire above it. You got Predator way up above it. You got The Descent that's up there as well too. Below it, you've got some movies that I think are great too. Last Duel, Adam hates. That movie's fucking incredible. Like that was a good movie.
Does hate it.
Yeah, I do think that'll actually go on to be a cult classic in like 30 years from now.
Crank, awesome. Die Hard is at 150. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's actually the one I was kind of ballparking too. So I think I'm gonna go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Keep
I know we're gonna get evened out with like Adam's vote and everything like that as well too. I think for the stunts, I think for certain parts of it, like we're capping off the Mission Impossibles. Fuck it, I'm at 129, below American Gangster, above Moana.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to live in this Tenet, No Time to Die, Die Hard area, not quite purgatory.
Sure.
All objectively good films, right? We just have a lot of heavy hitters, as we say on this. So I think I'm gonna kind of split the difference between all this stuff, and ultimately I'm gonna have to land it above Black Widow. Like I would roll in my grave if we had Black Widow ranked higher than this. And actually, I do think I would rather watch that last of the Daniel Craig Bond films opposed to watching the last of the Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. So I'll actually match it right there next to it. I'm going to go 158. And that's off the basis I think we're going to end up moving Tenet eventually. So yeah,
Sure.
158 for me. Right below No Time to Die, above The Last Breath, which also has deep water diving.
I was thinking about that movie during this a lot, to be honest with you. So you said, what was it? One.
I'm going to go 158.
158. Okay. Tyler?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your guys' points. I think that this is truly a good ending for Mission Impossible. It definitely puts a great little bow on it. At the same time, it gives great credit to what the franchise has been through, and what it is and what Tom Cruise has done for the stunt community, for the film community, like just what he's accomplished. And I think he does that more than what Craig does for Mission or for Bond.
Sure.
There's been other Bonds. There's always an argument about which Bond is your Bond, and
sure.
and
who's the next Bond?
Yeah.
Yep. And so I don't know. I don't know if we ever get another Ethan Hunt. I think he kind of stands alone in a lot of things, and so I would definitely push this up a little bit higher. I have a relatively high nostalgia tie to the first one, being like one of the first biggest like action spy films that like I've ever been able to witness growing up. So I would put this above the Bond stuff, and then I take a look at things like fucking Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and
Good movie.
Thread, and
Good movie.
It's decent. I think this is better. But I do like things like Soul, and you guys know how I feel about A Quiet Place. So there's some things mixed up in there. I'd have to rewatch Doctor Strange. I think it's relatively forgettable, but Ninja Turtles is legit. So I think I'm gonna be at 122.
Okay, 122.
So you're going right below Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and above
because then you run
Doctor
into
Strange
like fucking
Multiverse.
Barbarian, and
animated
War
Lord of the
Ringer and-
Rings.
Yep.
No.
Descent. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think we get. I was getting ready to push like Blade territory, but then I did see like Predator and Rain of Fire, which also have some pretty heavy ties. So and Bad Boys.
So, Adam,
Absolutely, bro.
Adam's seeking to piss off Blake because he ranks it at 170, which is where Tenet is.
Yeah, so he's actually going above Tenet.
Yeah,
but Adam also doesn't enjoy that film.
It's true. So with that and dividing it by all of us together gives us a ranking. Drumroll, please. 144.75. So I think we said that rounds. That would round it to 145, or do you want to put it at 144?
Yeah.
So 145
we'll down, I guess.
is right below Crank, right above Pearl.
Yep.
So slotting in at 145 on the Entropy list. You heard it here first, folks. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Do we think this is going to be the last Mission Impossible, or do we think they bring it back? Does Tom Cruise Batman Beyond it and like come back for the next one? Maybe he does one stunt. They just shove him out of a plane without a parachute. And and then he hands it off, or what are we thinking, guys?
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Blake.
Ty.
Nope. Said it first.
Yeah, I mean, I think they may, no pun intended, they may let it die down for a little bit. But I do think eventually they will find a way. It's going to end up being a massive IP, where I do think they end up finding a way eventually to bring somebody back on here. It may not be Tom Cruise. It may be
Tom Holland, the next Tom Cruise.
For sure. It may be Timothée Chalamet. It may be somebody in 2037, right? When we're looking at like, hey, when Fox or whoever else is combing through their files of what the fuck can we bring up and make a quick 200 million on, right? And I think it's going to be a Mission Impossible movie. So
when Tom Cruise has been downloaded into a consciousness, a digital consciousness, and now he is the new entity.
Tom Cruise.
I was like, it's just gonna be AI,
yeah,
100%.
right? But it's gonna be AI via Tom Cruise. Is going to be the movie. The movie's going to be directed by AI.
If you told me the Church of Scientology had an AI Tom Cruise, I would not believe you.
Yeah, you either die the villain. You either die a hero or live long enough so yourself become the villain.
Fucking. We were talking about SpongeBob all-timers. That is a real all-timer.
Yeah, that would just became part of like the cultures. Like, that just became a saying that people have. I was like, that's from a fucking superhero movie. Like, that, like, the night is darkest just before the dawn. Like, those aren't. That's not from the Bible. Like, that's just from the Dark Knight 2006.
That's from the Dark Knight. Yeah. But it as we know, the reason why these quotes hold so much significance in our culture and in the world, they ring so true across a plethora of genres, from sports to books to people,
magic
to
of movies, man.
To politicians.
That's it.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, but yeah, that's where we got it at. So, one of these days we'll have to get another Mission Possible on the podcast, man. Rightfully so. We should probably at least get the first one on here eventually.
As a series,
right?
It's a pretty high hit rate. Like, there are not like
dude.
The worst one's probably the second.
Easily
one, right?
the second.
I guess we
but like,
probably should get to our favorites. But I think we said Fallout. Sounds like 2's unanimously the worst.
It's not the worst.
I actually don't mind
like,
5. 5's not bad.
2's just.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
2's just like so of its time. Like it very like with Mission Impossible, the first 4 or 5 or so, it's like we gave it to whatever director is like doing new and unique stuff. So like Brian De Palma directs the first one. He always made like sleazy thrillers with like almost psychosexual elements to it, and you see that like a lot of it's in shadow. There's like the weird relationship between like him and like Jim Phelps's former girlfriend, but who looks like 20 years younger than John Voight and that kind of thing. And then the second one's a John Woo flick. Like, it's got the doves. People are like flying through the air with guns.
It's in slow motion.
Yeah, everything's in slow motion. Yeah, the camera's spinning around. The third one's a J.J. Abrams movie, and like it's full on Lost. And then the fourth one, Ghost Protocol, was Brad Bird, who made The Incredibles. And then he made that was like his second directorial movie. And then he brings in Macquarie, and they kind of hit on this idea of
they hit on 5. What did they hit on? Is that Ghost Protocol?
Rogue Nation. Ghost Protocol is Brad Bird. But they hit on the idea of like of really centering it around the stunts. You know, Ghost Protocol has him climbing the building, but it's still got the things of like the masks and like all these other kind of little tech things. Once Macquarie comes on, it's much more like, all right, we're building the movies around the stunts and kind of going from there. So yeah, we've talked a lot at this point. Let's wind this bad boy down.
Cool. Yeah. But yeah, overall, we'll do it. Obviously, I mean, with this to kind of round out, you have your Bonds, as we talked about, your Jason Bourne films, which we don't have any of those on the podcast, but maybe we get one of those on here eventually, because there's maybe 4 or 5 of those. So maybe we should try to dabble in these like spy espionage films. We don't have a ton of them on the podcast, but we'll start to deep dive that catalog
for sure. Well, thanks for listening, folks. If this is your first time, I'm sorry, but if it's not your first time, hey, maybe share the podcast. Give it to a friend, a family member, maybe a longtime Mission Impossible rival or something like that. Who knows? Maybe you screwed someone over 20 years ago, and you need to make amends. Maybe this podcast is the way to do it. Who knows? But yeah, you can always find us on the internet and at Back Row Banter Pod on most social medias. YouTube in specific, that's definitely where we would love for you to subscribe and ring the bell icon and all that jazz. Adam's at AYYSH for the most part, or 2-3Y somewhere in there. I don't know. Google Ash, you'll find him. Probably not. Google's broken at this point. But Blake, where can people find you?
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder, be on there. Logging some fills, rating them out of 5 stars. Gave Mission Impossible the Final Reckoning, I believe 3.5. On there, PSN, Mr. Watercoolers, Xbox, Mr. Watercoolers, Instagram, Mr. Watercoolers. Ty?
You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and X, all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES. Did you say your stuff, Nathaniel? Are we done?
I did not. No, you can find me on Letterboxd and Blue Sky at NS Gingrich, Instagram, Nathaniel G92. Sandpiper Tapes is my other podcast. I think that's it, folks. Next week we got a new movie coming out, or are we heading back to the
I will fact check it for you. Give me 1 second here, brother.
I think we maybe Lilo and Stitch or Jurassic World. I know Lilo and Stitch is out. I did not see that this weekend though.
I don't hear
yeah,
about a lot of things, but I've heard some poor things, and I don't know
right
about
now
this.
I'm sorry, Ty. I'm sorry to talk over you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm done.
Right now it's a toss up between the new Lilo and Stitch and the 28 weeks later, because we did days.
Ooh, okay.
And we have years later coming up. I believe in like 3 weeks from now or something. I think that's late June. So maybe we'll tie that in there. So hang tight for post pod, Adam.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite host, Post Pod Adam, coming at you with an update on what we're watching next week. It is going to be the movie Bring Her Back from the creators of Talk to Me, so it's not going to be any of those movies that they were talking about before. But Bring Her Back, it's new in theaters this weekend. Go check that out, and then join us for our review of that next week.
Yeah, folks. We'll see what we got next week. Maybe it'll be a surprise. Maybe there is no Post Pod Adam, and you just got to deal with it. But we'll figure it out. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
All right, now record.
All right, so I found another version of like, would you fight this or would you rather fight this? And it has to do with age, and there is kind of like a caveat to both, but I'll get there. So it's either fight 10-year-old clones of you,
Okay.
or fight one 30-year-old clone of you. And then the caveats are the 10-year-olds, they are very well coordinated.
Okay.
But the 30-year-old literally knows you inside out.
So it's a clone from like today. It's not like I get 6 months.
Yeah. So in this option though, I'm my current age, right?
I think it would still maybe be a 30-year-old. Maybe it's like future you. Maybe it knows you better.
Okay.
Oh, so you're saying like that because it was 30 and now you're 31, you've had an extra year that it won't know about, kind of thing.
Maybe, yeah. So maybe it works both ways. Since I'm like 34, maybe I have 4 years on it.
Right.
Yeah,
like luckily you've been doing all that knife training.
Combat training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been going fucking crazy, dude. Montage in my basement.
You could play him in a game of golf. You'd definitely kick his ass in that.
Probably.
Yeah. I maybe I guess I need to stop thinking it too hard. I think I would rather just like fight the 30-year-old version of Blake. Just numbers, man. It's like the gorilla thing.
Yeah.
The numbers get you. Fighting 10 humans, no matter what age they are,
Yeah,
let
it is
alone.
the thing. Like, I don't know if it could be, if it was just 10 children, 10-year-olds, I don't know if it doesn't even have to be me,
but then,
right?
like, if they're coordinated and they, I don't know, man. I don't like my odds.
Yeah, am I fighting a
10
Little
years
League College World Series team or a Little League World Series team all of a sudden?
Yeah, dude,
I go down to
I'm
Williamsport.
taking the 1v1. I'm taking my odds on the 1v1.
I
man.
insult Roblox, and now the Pittsburgh Smashers are mad at me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I'd take the 30-year-old me.
I'm taking
just
the
because,
1v1
like,
close.
Now, if I have a hammer,
oh,
or
okay.
like if you
Now, if
get
you-
a weapon, like I feel like that immediately changes the odds, right?
I agree. I think I'm probably going with the 10-year-olds if I have a weapon.
Because but I wouldn't want to face 30-year-old me if I had a weapon. That's like that immediately changes it.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm with a weapon. I'm rocking the 10-year. This sounds horrible. I would rather fight the 10-year-olds with a weapon.
I'm dropping 10-year-olds left and right, man.
Yeah. How fucking sorry are we of like 1v1 a grown man? It's like with the weapon, it's like, nah. But if you give me a weapon, I'll fight the kids.
I'm
You know what I mean?
gonna be cracking kids like I'm Sauron at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Like dudes will just be flying left and right.
Yeah. Facts. That's interesting.
Yeah, we really find where the lines are with each other here.
True.